Now with us being well in the way to winter, there is still a lot of work to do, like this Picea Spruce. Now there isn't a lot of work we can do to it at this time of the year, but we can trim back slightly, as long as we're careful to not kill off the branches. And what I mean by that is making sure there's some lovely dormant buds on the branch for it to sprout out. And we're also going to be addressing the top section of the tree today, just to get it ready for further wiring later on in the year, where normally people would chop the top off and try and start a new leader, which I've always found a bit ridiculous if it's not needed. So we're just going to have a quick spin around just to make sure we are ready for this. And there definitely is a load of dormant buds. So we're going to be needing our scissors, wire cutters, and a bundle of mess of wire. I know, look at it. And we'll also need to be addressing this branch here, which I kind of wanted as a second trunk. And at the moment I am pulling off some needles, which I'm pretty sure I pulled them all off earlier on last year. But who knows what will come of it. It may be something, it may be entirely removed. I just don't know yet, but we're going to have a little move around and see what we can do with it. Now I feel if we are going to have it pointing upwards and these branches are going to be in the way, we can try and make it form one of the pads. But I can't really see that happening. So what we're just going to temporarily tuck these back with the wire that's already on. And we're going to see what movement we can get out of this and see if it fits right with the tree. And I'm not entirely happy with that. Just something's a bit off with it. We may have to come back to it a little bit later. Sometimes working on the rest of the tree it gives a clearer image if you're stuck in the moment. But here you can kind of see the layers of pads, as there's a fine line developing between the levels, and it should come together eventually. It's just working out today what works best. And I found a piece here which we can try and start form a pad, so let's give it a go. So we're just going to get a small piece of wire on and just to wire the finer foliage. And I have sped this up a bit. It was a very tedious job as all this foliage is very young. And we're just going to give it some subtle movements. And there is loads of buds on here, but they're all at the tips. And as you can see, that's the beginning of a pad there. But I feel like we're going to have to do something just to improve it further. And I want these two on the outer, and I feel the one in the middle may have to come off, as the chances of that backbudding is very slim down here, and we're just going to remove it. And now that's looking a lot cleaner, and eventually we'll bring this one in as well, and that will make a nice pad. So what we're going to be doing now is going around the tree and see what we can safely cut back, and it's a yay or nay whether to put the wire on the foliage. I have a feeling that a lot of it's a bit too young for my liking. I know it's normally best to wire while the foliage or the branch is still young, but I'm fairly heavy-handed and I have a tendency to break things, so I like them to be, well, let's say have a season in them at least. And there is a fair amount of needles still on the branches that I didn't remove. It may be because I didn't wire this piece, or it may be there's just some I just didn't remove entirely. But we've found bits that needs to come off. So I am going to be speeding up this bit. I've shown you the process, what I'm doing, so you can always watch back on the video if you need to see what I'm doing. But I feel like if I just left it, then this will probably be an hour and a half long video, and so I am taking my time doing this. So as I was working down to this side, I've come back to this side branch slash second trunk, and I feel like I want to keep these lower ones and try and get them to grow out a bit, and I'm in two minds to make the foliage above it into a deadwood feature, almost like the second trunk was growing and then something's happened to it and died off, and the bottom is left to fend for itself. But who knows? So I've come to this section here, and the layer slash pads are starting to form well, even though I have not applied wire on them just yet. And I don't think it's going to need wire just yet. It may be something that I will wait for until later on in the year when it's matured a bit. But it's definitely getting somewhere. There's a couple of little bits that need to come off, but nothing too drastic. And I think that pad there is starting to look absolutely lovely. It's definitely looking promising. But there are some bits here that are just pointing up, and it kind of affects the flow of things. And here's actually a perfect example of what I'm trying to do with the pads and the layers. Eventually the whole tree will be layered up like this. I doubt it's going to be looking what I envision by the end of this video, but you should see a comparison compared to the beginning. The more I look at this side branch trunk, I am really contemplating on making the top here a deadwood feature, but I'm not entirely sure yet, so we'll just continue with the foliage. There are some bits that can just come off with your fingers, and it is a tedious job. It's probably one of my least favourite jobs when it comes to bonsai trees, but it's something that has to be done. So now we're at the top section of the tree, and I feel like some of this just need to be levelled out, some will need to be removed. There is a lot of fine branches in this. So now we've come to a section here, and on this branch it actually splits into, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. Now I want to take the one off in the middle and much weaker ones on the sides. Doing so will make it a lot easier to create the pads when the time comes. And there's some foliage higher up on the branch that just won't be needed. That's definitely looking a lot cleaner, but there's some growing under. And there we go. Now I feel that's starting to look a lot better, but there still is a lot going on at the top. There were so many fine branches up here, and it's left a few knuckles, but they can always be fixed in time. So we're just going to have to hack away a little bit more before we can start working on the top efficiently. And here are those little knuckles here. It's I feel like if we left it any longer, then some horrible inverse taper would have developed and we caught it just in time. So it's left these little knuckles here that can always be treated just by simply cutting them off and letting it callus over. Luckily I got these sharp scissors to do the job, and it's just slicing through them like butter. So I've been thinking about it, and I think it's time to get to this side branch slash second trunk, and I've opted in to keeping the lower branches on it and making a deadwood feature on the top. So we just need to remove the wire that's on here, and leaving it on is just going to make a tedious job of removing the bark. And then just removing the foliage. And I'm already thinking that is looking better. And we're going to remove the bark with a pair of gym pliers. And I'm going to let them weather for the year. And then probably come autumn time we can start doing something special with it. And the trick with the gym pliers is to squeeze enough to loosen the bark, but not too hard to break the branch. And after doing so, the bark will just peel off really easily. But we can also make it look just a little bit nicer just by giving it a bit of a slanty cut at the top, just so it's not that flush cut. And I feel like that's a vast improvement, and it's no longer getting in the way of the flow of the tree, and these smaller bits eventually will ramify and become pads themselves. But now I'm thinking there's too much going on at the bottom to accommodate that deadwood. Something's got to go. So just using the wire cutters, I've removed that branch altogether. And one of these two have got to go. I do need a back branch for this lower part. It's just all about making that decision. And I think this one here, it can go. I do need some new wire cutters. Let's put it because I keep cutting branches with them. But I feel like that is looking a lot cleaner at the bottom now. But also doing the work just there has just affected all the branch placement. So we're just going to have a quick move around. I say quick, all this took me about half an hour, and you're going to see it in around about 27 seconds of me just fixing the placement of these branches. And that's just sod's law. You change one thing and it changes everything. So now just having a quick look, you can see the tree is now starting to come together with its layers, but there's still so much work to do. I feel like it's going to be a couple of years before this tree is going to be looking absolutely outstanding. So here we are now back at the top of the tree, and I've decided to put some wire at the top just to create some spacing in the apex, as we don't want it all spaced out throughout the tree and then just have a clump of foliage at the top. It makes the top of the tree look very juvenile, and the object of the art of this tree is to make it look like an old tree. And as we can see here, just pulling on these wires just a little bit, it just gives it a little bit more space at the top. And now another piece of wire, just to give it even more spacing. Because remember, we are trying to create layers, and in time, it's going to be doing this tree a lot of favours in its appearance. So now the tree is starting to come together, and it's pretty much set for wiring once the growth has matured, and I'm more than happy with it for the time being. I believe it's definitely looking better than it did from the start of the video. And I have also found this useless soil brush, which I have found a perfect use for, and it's removing the needles from the moss. And as you can see, the moss mesh trick that you can find in a previous video is doing an absolutely wonderful job. And this is the tree at the beginning of the video, and here we are now. It's definitely looking a lot more spacious, and it's definitely set up for the next jobs to do later on in the year. And we can definitely see that trunk line a lot more clearer now. But if you like this video, please comment, like and subscribe. If not, no worries, and I'll catch you in the next one.